Hi, I'm Father James Krasinski. I'm a priest of the Diocese of La Crosse, pastor of St. Olaf Parish in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and also author for Sacred Space Astronomy, the official blog of the Vatican Observatory Foundation. To begin this reflection, I wish to extend to each and every one of you a most blessed and happy New Year. Now, you may be wondering, why did I say Happy New Year? Father, you're a Christian. Christmas is coming up. Why didn't you say Merry Christmas? That'll come. But first, we as Catholics and most mainline Protestants see Advent as the beginning of our church year. We are now in the third week of Advent. We just finished it this last Sunday. And in this time of Advent, we first prepare our hearts in the first 3 weeks for the second coming of Christ in final glory. Until in the fourth week, we shift our focus to the immediate preparation of celebrating Christ's birth, the Incarnation. The central image of this season is the Advent wreath. It's a circular evergreen wreath like you would put on your door, many of you, as decoration. And on this wreath are 4 candles, 3 purple and 1 pink or rose. Each candle is deeply significant theologically, communicating things such as peace and joy, themes that we can reflect upon to prepare our hearts in this season for a joyful encounter with Christ when he comes again in final glory. The symbol itself was taken from Nordic culture. It was taken from the season of Yule. And as you get to the northernmost countries and they experience the time when the sun goes beneath the horizon and doesn't emerge again for an extended period of time, the early Christians would observe how the peoples of these regions would lay out a wreath in the city square, and every day they'd light a candle to remind themselves and to prepare themselves for the time when the sun, the S-U-N, would rise over the horizon again. When Christians encountered this symbol, similar to how when Paul in Greek society, when he saw the altar to the unknown God that was dedicated to the culture of Plato and Aristotle, he said, "That which you unknowingly worship, I will show you what it is that you worship." In a similar way, the Christians saw this symbol of this Yule wreath to mark time of the rising of the sun, and saying that this symbol that marks the passage of time when the sun will rise and warm your face and give you light again is a reminder to us also as Christians of how Christ, the S-O-N, rose from the dead, and we now wait for him to return in final glory. And so therefore, at the beginning of Advent, the wreath is unlit, and every week we light another candle. And that light is symbolic of how we can move spiritually from darkness into light. Move from a faith that at times that maybe we feel like our heart is just a smoldering wick, and instead it's fanned into a flame to illuminate the love of God within our lives. The natural symbol in astronomy that we can see is the very movement of our planet, its rotation, its movement around the sun, and also the movement of everything else in the universe. What do I mean? As we in the northern hemisphere have been going through summer, then fall, and then winter, the European Christians developed a theology of cosmic liturgy, seeing that with the celebration of the birth of John the Baptist in January, about the time of the summer solstice, our days have becoming shorter and shorter, symbolic on how sin can darken our hearts, remove the light of Christ from our lives. And so therefore, the shorter days and longer nights of fall into winter became again an enculturated metaphor for the Christians of the Christian life, how sin can creep in, can begin to freeze the soul. Yet at Christmas, around the time of the winter solstice, what happens? We begin to see the days become longer, slowly. The light increases, similar to that Advent wreath with each candle being lit. into Easter, new life, green, new beginnings, from death to life. That which is dormant is then awoken again into the warmth of summer. And so therefore the very natural rhythms of our planet, the natural rhythms of the heavenly bodies, all became a profound symbol for those early Christians in the Northern Hemisphere of the Christian life. Now, the reason you may not have heard this theology before is precisely my emphasis on Northern Hemisphere. If you live in the Southern Hemisphere, it's all reversed, and this stuff doesn't necessarily work. The point being, however, that can we find in our day and age natural symbols that point us not only to the passing of time in the common sense, but of sacred moments, sacred time, sacred events that allow our hearts to be inflamed from darkness to light, a transformation of heart, just as we see that interplay of night and day, light and dark, and the natural rhythms of the world around us. This whole idea of looking for the natural rhythm of life, I think we've all experienced, regardless of your faith, with the recent total solar eclipse. At one level, we can look at the solar eclipse and describe it as just the normal, ordered movements of the heavenly bodies. And in these rare moments, the sun, the moon, and the earth line up to create this interesting phenomenon that we call a total solar eclipse. However, when I talked with people who actually saw the solar eclipse in person, I myself didn't. I was not in totality. I observed the eclipse at my parish at St. Joe's in Menominee, but we were not in totality. When I speak to people who were, regardless of faith, they don't speak of it as just this ordered movement of time. They use words like life-changing, life-altering. It was as if I was at the empty tomb and saw the light of Christ shine forth as the stone was being rolled away. They spoke of something in them that was touched spiritually that pointed to something beyond themselves. It reminds us that in worship, in Catholic liturgy, when we try to understand how we pray, we go to what's called in the Latin an ordo, which just means order. It shows you, here's the feast day, here are the readings, here's what you should do, here's the prayers that you should use. At one level, you can see that as rather mundane, just giving you the structure of prayer. But as you allow that sequence, that order of prayer to unfold, sacred moments emerge. The proclamation of the gospel, the Eucharist, and these moments when the market of time points to a timelessness of the liturgy, and this sacred time in which we do not have that sense of it being a common event, but a profoundly sacred event. Again, similar to the solar eclipse, the natural ordered moving of a liturgy brings about these moments of great sacred significance, just as the natural ordered movement of the heavenly bodies of our universe provide us with these insights, these moments of clarity of something beyond ourself, pointing to a natural spirituality, observing within our created world something that is striking to us and moving to us, that also lifts us to worship something outside of creation, yet also in creation at the same time, something that undergirds creation and brought all of creation into existence, including you and me. At the conclusion of this video today, I would ask you this week to take this exercise to prayer. When we look at the Advent wreath, we can see it as either completely unlit, completely illuminated with all four candles burning brightly, or maybe one or two or three candles lit. If you were to sit with me and discuss your spiritual life with me, how would you describe it as an Advent wreath? Is it fully ablaze with all four candles roaring into almost a fire? If so, praise be God and nurture that flame. Maybe you might feel like yours is a little bit more of the smoldering wick, or maybe a candle or two are lit, but that's it. If that's the case, I would encourage you to do two things. One, embrace the hope that was at the heart of this last Sunday in Advent. When we light the pink or the rose candle, it symbolizes hope. Hope that our waiting for the return of the Lord is almost over. Hope that there is a deep rejoicing that'll come as we are reconnected with the Lord for all eternity and glory. But then, two, I would ask you, in this natural, ordered unfolding of creation, I would invite you, be open to those sacred times, be open to those sacred moments, when in a moment that which might seem mundane, a sacred moment, a timeless moment emerges. See in that moment a connection with your faith, similar to how the Christians saw this Yule wreath as being significant of their understanding of the risen Christ. Find those moments of enculturation in your life where you can see within the natural rhythm and order and unfolding of the sacred world something that points to something in you intuitively beyond yourself, and to re-engage that with your faith, so that together, all of us, living in this created world, living in our common home, can see the divine, the fingerprints of God within our creation, whether that be in our backyard, whether that be in our place of work, whether that be in places that we're very familiar with, or places that are new to us. Wherever that may be, let us explore this world together as children of God, as a community of faith, and natural wanderers of the world around us, seeking within the mundane passing of things and the ordered passing of things, sacred moments to bind us together with one another and to bind us together with the Lord. Thank you, and may God bless your day.